180 and we're at the speed down to 2,500.
Yep, flight 480, reduce speed to 180.
BlackBox.
Hey, welcome to KP's BlackBox. I know it's been a while, probably three months, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, completely my fault, 100% responsible. I'm owning it. But, crazy schedule. But, when something like that happens, pauses in life can be good.
Of course.
And during a Christmas opportunity that arose, my guest here today, he and I met at my house. Didn't know each other before this encounter. But my guest here today, Blake Thomas, was Santa Claus in a shoot for, I wouldn't say it right, for Blackhawk.
Blackhawk, yep.
Tactical. And he had some elves that were tactical elves, and you were tactical Santa.
Yeah,
And
it was definitely
the house that you guys were going to shoot in, I guess, fell through. The plans fell through. So the producer was like, "Hey, Kenny, my son-in-law Ian,
Right.
is in the movie business, so he knew the producer. He's like, hey, we'll ask my father-in-law if we can use his house to shoot your commercial." And Blake and I met and had some great conversation that day, and we just decided to start having coffee together.
Yep.
And then found out we had some common interests and common things that we like to talk about. We're like, why don't we do that on the podcast here? So here we are today, 3 months later since my last podcast, and we're going to work on a plan to continue to do this.
Yep.
So some days you may see Blake, some days you may see me. Hopefully most of the time it'll be us and a guest.
Absolutely.
But we're excited to make something new happen. I'm not even sure if the name's going to change. It might be Blake's BlackBox.
Yeah, something.
I don't know.
Something, man. I like the name. Blackbox is it's smooth.
Tantalizing Thomas.
Something. We'll do it. Yeah, exactly.
But today we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to learn a little bit about Blake. But like all podcasts, when we start these out, the most important thing to me that's near and dear to my heart, and I know it is for you too, is our men and women who serve each and every day in our military.
Absolutely. And
so we always like to start the podcast with a little salute to those who gave it all and those who are still giving it all. We salute you, and especially the Marines.
Absolutely. There you go.
Semper Fi. Thank you for your service.
No, thank
Blake,
you, Ken.
thank you for your service.
Thank you. Trust me. I'm definitely excited to be here. Yeah, like you said, I think our relationship, so how it met, was like very, very organic. So people ask me all the time, like, hey, I'm going to meet my buddy Ken for coffee. They're like, cool. So how do you know Ken? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a long story. But I tell them the whole thing, how we did the photo shoot at the house, the video, conversation sparked. And I remember because I was wearing my SWAT hat, and you made a comment about liking it.
Yeah.
I dropped one off, and ever since then, it's been a good relationship. So now weekly, I look forward to meeting, grabbing coffee. It's never a dull moment.
Yeah.
Once I leave there, I feel inspired. My mind's clear. This is a good time. So I'm glad we're kind of finally taking this and making it a regular thing.
Yeah. So we're like, turn the cameras on. Let's, you and I are people, relationship people.
Yeah.
Even though you're a badass and you have to take some people down for misbehaving, you still enjoy people.
I do, absolutely.
And that's what's a lot of fun is we can just talk about current events. Mm-hmm. There's no agenda of which side we're taking, or it's just having a conversation about it, and that creates enlightenment in your own self. And one of the things we were talking off camera was you have an internal voice, you have an external voice, and you need to exercise that external voice with people around you, and they don't always have to be like-minded. Right. That's good to have people in your corner, but you want to have people in your corner who are going to hold you accountable.
I agree.
Who are going to, in a spirit of love, be able to say to you, "Hey, man, you might want to check yourself."
Yep.
And there's only a small group of people in our lives, I think, that we ever let in to do stuff like that. And I would consider you one of those people that early, I'll say that to you, you're a good accountability person.
I appreciate that.
I think you've got a spirit of being able to help people get from where they are to where they want to be, because I think you're passionate about people, and that's awesome. So that's why I want to do this.
I definitely am. Obviously, like with my career paths, it's kind of hard to see how I'd be so interested in actually helping people kind of get from A to B. But I found a fascination that, like, once I get to know someone, and I like to hear their goals, I want to hear their dreams, and then I want to hear, like, hey, what plans do you have in motion to get there?
Yeah.
And if they don't have a plan, I'm always down to be that person to be like, yo, let's sit down, let's develop it. What do we need to do to get you? Because if you can see your potential and I can see your potential, let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I feel. So I really, I feel like it's more important than even like the monetary value of it is the fulfillment I get with calling a friend or calling someone who I knew had an idea or dream, and then seeing what they've become today.
Right.
To me, it just it doesn't like it, you know.
Well, I agree with you. And in my business, you know, I found my calling. And by the way, Blake and I are both from the same greatest fraternity in the world.
Yep, absolutely.
Even though he kind of took a sabbatical. He's once a Marine, always a Marine. So
yeah, definitely.
We both are Marines, and real Marines who actually went to Paris Island. That's picking on our Marine brothers over in San Diego, the Hollywood Marines.
Yeah, they spoiled, man.
Yeah.
Definitely spoiled.
Yeah, we had sand fleas, and they talk about Mount Motherfucker, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Excuse my
bro.
French. That's what it's called.
Yep.
Right. They had to walk up a big mountain, and that was what was tough for them. We're going to have some Hollywood Marines on and
Hear the perspective.
banter.
Yeah, what's it like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was tough.
Yeah, I'm sure San Diego was tough.
That's right.
Sure, it was real tough out there, man. Sure, the weather was just too nice.
Yeah, blonde hair, blue-eyed, bombshells.
Yeah, dude, Paris Island's got me scarred, man. I was there for 6 months.
Did you get hurt?
Yeah, I broke my foot when I was there on like training day 15. I remember I broke my foot, and you know, at the time I was young. I was like 20 years old. So I thought it was done. I thought with a broken foot, it was like, hey,
send you home.
oh, you're done. You're going home. And they were like, no, that's fine. You're going to go over here, and you'll heal for 3 months, and you'll come back. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to like a hospital or something nice. Nah, they put you literally in like another barracks with drill instructors, and it's called MRP, like medical rehab platoon.
Right.
Bro, that was the worst 3 months of my life. I've been through a
Boot
lot of
camp
stuff
within
since
boot
then,
camp.
but the MRP at boot camp was the worst thing ever. I was in a wheelchair, and I remember like they would just wheel me into the bathroom for like hours on end, and I would just scrub the walls. And I was like, yo, this can't be real. Like, this cannot be real. Yeah, and like we would have to, the chow hall was a mile away, and while everybody else is like rucking or walking, I'm crutching to the chow hall like in the sand. I remember thinking like, oh, how did I get here? Like, what happened?
Now, how many dudes in that platoon? Because, you know, the drill instructors, when a guy falls or gets hurt, you know, they're just bad mouthing, you know, he's a quitter. And, well, you know, you're just getting beat down mentally.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the platoon, you're like, well, man, I can't say I got hurt or can't say. And I'll tell you one of my stories.
Yeah.
In just a second here that happened to me on receiving night. But I didn't have to go to MRP, or I think my platoon called it broke dick platoon.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
But how many of those guys that went in that platoon made it out and finished?
Dude, so like it's weird. Like the Marine Corps, especially back then. Well, I'll say back then, it wasn't that long ago. You know, it was 2010.
Yeah.
The war was still busy. So they were still about getting numbers, right? They were still about getting through. So they were like, it doesn't matter what you told them. Like, if you were, it don't matter what you told them your issue was. Like, that's cool. You can deal with that after you graduate. You know what I mean? You're graduating through this. I'd say 75% of them healed from their injuries and went back. Some of them, the injuries were too serious, never healed. They timed out.
Yeah.
Went home. Some of them didn't even have injuries. They were just trying to find an out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is horrible.
So you're around a bunch of people who mentally have checked out. They're like,
oh, they don't want to be there.
Yeah.
They're pulling every card you can think of. You know what I mean? The I'm going to hurt myself card all the way to, I don't know what year they thought, but they were like, hey, I'm in the men. They were like, that's great, but you can still be gay in the military, so you're graduating. You know what I mean? So they were trying everything. And now, like, people just look at him like, you thought that was going to work? Like, bro, it was 2010. Yeah. Who's not? Let's go.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so like at night with the ones that said they, had an issue, do you remember doing that? Like, I guess they call it a suicide watch or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you sit at night with like a flashlight watching them sleep.
Your moon beamer.
Yeah, making it worse.
Right.
Yeah, it was the same concept, man. So,
jeez.
No, that was bad. That was pretty bad.
So my forming platoon,
Yeah.
platoon 1056 is who I, 1st Battalion. What were you?
I started out in second.
The privates.
Yeah, then I want
Were
to say.
they still calling you privates then?
No,
When I was in 2nd Battalion, we're the only recruits called privates.
Oh, no, we were just
And
recruits.
we were recruits, yeah. And we were like, how are you privates? And we were,
Yeah, no, we
it
were
was
recruits.
nuts.
I think it was second. I want to say I graduated third. I'd have to check. I know it was golf company. Then I went back, and I think I graduated maybe with hotel. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, I was
been a while.
platoon 1056 Delta Company, 1st Battalion.
You got you know what? I went to 1st Battalion. Is what it was. Right next to the chow hall in the drill
That's right.
the drill field. Yep, same
Yeah,
barracks.
right on the grinder. Yeah.
Yep.
So, in my forming platoon, those first 2 weeks where you're getting all your gear and doing all your medical stuff and getting your wisdom teeth pulled. Drill instructors, you're standing at attention, they'd say, ready, sit. And you would just flop down on the floor, right? Indian style.
Yep.
Well, 2 months before boot camp, I had surgery on my lower spine. I had what was called a pilonidal cyst, and it was right on the coccyx of your butt bone. And the doctor knew I was going to boot camp, so he clamped it shut instead of letting it heal from the inside out. So first night, I'm there, and they tell us what we're going to do. Drill instructor says, ready, seat. Everybody goes down. He goes, no, not fast enough. Stand back up on a concrete floor.
I remember those games too.
Yep. So after about 3 times, I felt something really warm in my rear end. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I'd split open that incision.
Oh, really? What happened then?
So I go to bed. They put it, and I didn't tell anybody anything. I go to bed. Drill instructor walks by and I'm in my white skivvies, and he sees blood in my underwear. And it's like, obviously, what are you, some fag? You're taking it up the ass. I mean, just horrible stuff. And I'm like...
Which back then they were saying. I don't know what they're saying now, but back then it was almost comical to hear what they were saying.
This was 1990. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Definitely then.
And, they put their hands on you, right? I can't say I was ever, struck, but they found a way to inflict pain without
found a way. Yeah.
punching you.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
And where he wouldn't leave marks. So I'll never forget this guy, Sergeant Glimpf. He was one badass dude, man. Skinny, little black dude, but strong, could run all day, do pull-ups forever. And he was just in my grill about it. And so it sends me to medical. And the doc's like, well, hey, we can send you to a medical platoon. And I'm like, no. I already had my hair cut.
Yeah.
I had my camis. I'm like, I am not going home. So they literally put a piece of foam, cut out piece of foam that I stuck inside my shorts. And I wore that for 13 weeks in my shorts. And I'd get up early, clean it out, clean my wound. And it finally closed back up. But it was gnarly. It was nasty. And I was like, man, I'm injured right from day one. But stuck it out. I did not want to go home.
No.
I was like, I am not going home with a bald head saying,
no way.
I didn't finish.
No way.
So
yeah, the last thing you want to do is go home from that, and especially you don't want to get dropped. Whatever you do, they say don't get hurt. It's gonna make your time there miserable. Don't get hurt.
You lived it, huh?
Yeah, I definitely did.
Well, salute to you, man. I mean, you've 6 months. I don't know if I could have done
it was
that.
6.5, man. I mean, I'm not saying it's the hardest thing in the military by any means. It was just you're really doing nothing, so it's just like time stands still. And
but do you go back to that now, like in the things you're doing in the Army now? And some of the stuff you're doing, I don't want to get into it. But
right.
You're doing some cool stuff now. Well, those of us that like shooting guns and stuff.
Right.
You're doing some important things. In some of the process that you've gone in and the selection process that you went through, do you think any of that treatment as a Marine and preparing over those 6 months
Oh, absolutely.
has an
Because
impact
like,
on
if you want to talk about a mental game, right? Like, I remember thinking. So obviously, like I went through SWAT selection. You know, I've been on a SWAT team now for, going on 7-8 years almost.
Okay.
Going through that process, then going through a special operations selection course. I remember thinking like nothing that's happening is ever as bad as being trapped there with no out. Like you literally have no out. So I remember thinking like, no, this is miserable.
Right.
And I would say, obviously physically, the SWAT school for us is pretty enduring for sure. They do a really good job of that. And then, of course, any kind of other trainings we've been through with the military physically are harder. But the mental games they play with you there are, like, outstanding. And not to mention, like, I don't know, did you have a girlfriend or anything when you went?
I did.
Yeah, so, okay. Like, I hate to say I made a mistake by doing that, but I was young. Sweetest girl. But, of course, the minute I broke my foot, it's like something happened where she was like, hey, this is a good time for me to meet somebody else. So while I'm sitting there dealing with my foot broke, trying to drink 16 chocolate milks a day to get some calcium to heal my body so I can get out of there, I start getting these letters, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
geez.
I'm like, you know, they always talk like Dear John
Dear
letters,
John.
and that's not going to happen to me. Oh, no, it really did. It was, yeah, it was good. And part of me was like, yo, girl, you can't wait till I get out of here to tell me this. Like, just I get it. I get it. You met somebody else. He's
Yeah.
great. Do your thing. But she was like, yeah, I met this guy. We started swimming together at night. It's so I'm like,
Oh, crap.
girl, you ain't got to tell me all this. I'm sitting here trapped with these dudes yelling at me, flipping bunks with a broken foot, scrubbing the bathroom for 9 hours a day.
That's rough, man.
Now having to deal with this. So yeah, I remember thinking after going through that, I ain't worried about anything else.
Well, I'll tell you, my having a girlfriend going to boot camp, and then we would get the letters. I made the mistake of telling my girlfriend at the time, and Kathleen knows this.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't Kathleen at the time. 30 years married to Kathleen.
Congratulations.
Awesome woman.
That's impressive. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember when I
Great.
met her. She was cool.
Yeah, she's the best.
Yeah, you did a good job. Good job, man.
Now, I had a girlfriend before Kathleen. She knows about this and actually knew the girl. They worked next door to each other, which is crazy. So this girl sent me pictures in boot camp.
Good for you.
Scandalous.
Oh, okay.
Drill instructors got them.
Yeah.
And they got pinned on the cork board by the drill instructor's office. Remember, this is 1991.
Of course. It was a different era. Yeah, yeah.
And all the Marines, all the recruits in that barracks got to enjoy pictures of my girlfriend. It was...
Hey, well, she was supporting the troops, man.
She was...
Hey, toast to her.
Toast to
All
her.
right.
Cheers.
Appreciate your service, girl.
Yeah.
Whoever you are.
She did it. It was
No,
a
that's
solid.
awesome. That's awesome.
But, yeah, I mean, that period of time, actually, we were talking about, intestinal fortitude, mental resolve, and, today we've learned to... I think we're learning as a society that when we need help mentally,
Yep.
to go ask for it, to talk to somebody. And at least I hope we're headed in the right direction there, especially in the military.
Yeah, I think obviously people are a lot more educated on the subject than me, but I say like from personal experience, I think we're starting to move in that direction. And I think that's a fad that we need to start, that like it's okay, people, like we said earlier, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And we need to start focusing on that, right?
Yeah.
Like we take care of them, maybe physically. We may give them access to the best gyms and the best supplements and diets, but we need to know like the most important thing, what's going on up here in your brain, right? And everybody deals with things differently. They compartmentalize things. Some people have, deal from financial stress, which can kill you just as fast as anything else, right?
For sure.
I know for myself, like one of my biggest, I'd say it's a strength, but also a huge weakness that I'm trying to work on, is I love to bring a lot of stuff on at one time on my plate, and I'm really bad at saying no. So if someone reaches out and was like, hey, you think you could run this or take care of this or do this, I'm always like, I got it, man, And I don't want to give a subpar product. So then I'll end up sitting down with, my wife sometimes at home, and she'll pause the TV to start talking, and I'll start letting her know, like, she's like, what's on your brain? Like, you haven't said anything all night. And I'm like, I just have a lot going on, and I really don't know, like, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of to a point where I know what I'm doing. So for the longest time, instead of sitting down and talking things out which is kind of what you and I started doing.
Yeah.
That I realized, like, hey, man, I need to spend more time with Ken. You're easy to open up to, which is funny because, like, after just knowing you for a short time, like, wanting to be very authentic about everything is rare. Yeah. But I started, like, replacing that with, like, okay, how do you feel numb? Well, some people may drink, they may turn to substance abuse or something like that. For me, it was always like the gym or running, right? Like, if I run long enough, I'm going to go numb, my brain's going to clear, and then I'm going to feel better when I come back. So I noticed, like, that started being it, right? That was my time where, like, you know?
Would you consider that an addiction then?
Yeah, I would. I would. I think it absolutely is. I mean, I used to be, I mean, I'm very big now, obviously, on fitness, nutrition and stuff. I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm able to balance it more, where my life doesn't revolve around it, right? It's just an addition and something for me to have.
Yeah.
I definitely work out, 6 days a week. I love it. But at one time, it was like becoming everything, even down to the nutrition, right? Like, hey, we got to eat, as they say, bro science every so many hours.
Right.
Then it was all about this. And it started kind of taking away from me living in the moment. So once I hit 33 years old, I looked back and I was like, where have the past 13 years gone since I joined the Marines?
Yeah.
I was always so focused on the next goal and the next thing that I wasn't enjoying the moment. And I wasn't enjoying, I guess, everything we've accomplished so far and where we're at today. And what I'm getting at is, like, when I had the birthday, my 33rd birthday, I remember I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, the next years are not guaranteed, especially the way we're burning this fuse right now. Like, you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to do is, hit the last day, hit my deathbed, look back and say, hey, did you enjoy it? And I'm like, no, actually I didn't. Like, I spent every day more worried about accomplishing the next goal or getting to where I want to be than just enjoying the finer things in life, right? Like family, time with my wife, vacations, those things I never got to do.
Yeah.
Because I was always so focused on, I guess, something.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot on my plate since, in my opinion, right? So once I graduated high school and I started going to community college up in Charlottesville, I had this dream. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go up to here. I really don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. And I'm going, well, if you want, you got a second, well, I'll backtrack the whole story if you want to hear it, man.
I love it. I'm loving it.
All right. So I went to high school in Smithfield, Virginia, and
Smithfield Foods, baby.
yeah, I know. Hey, Smithfield
Ham
Foods right there.
biscuits.
A lot of ham. The whole town smells like ham all the time.
I love bacon, by the way. Sorry, I don't want to get you off track.
No, you're good. I definitely had a good experience in high school. It was fun for me. I definitely spent more time, like, with the crowd that partied a lot more. Academics were definitely not a priority. I wanted to be Mr. Social. I wanted to talk to everybody. I wanted to be with everybody's party, everybody's friend.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a motorcycle before I had a car. So I was in high school riding a sports bike to my senior year, which, looking back, I had a job making like $7 an hour. Like, what was I doing even buying a bike? And lo and behold, a buddy's dad of mine was like, hey, I'm going to co-sign. I got a phone call one day for both of y'all to get bikes together, which at the time was like, it's a great idea. That was the worst idea on the planet, right? So I was 18 years old. I was riding a bike to school. My mom was very, very supportive of me, even though she wasn't really clear on what I wanted to do in my path in life, and I had no idea. So I moved up to Charlottesville. I had an apartment up there with my best friend at the time. We were both working at a restaurant, actually Cheeseburger Paradise, where I worked at. Up there, up there. Yep. I was going to community college. I remember after a year, I'm like, this is not working. I was partying nonstop. I was to the point where I couldn't even run a mile. You know what I mean? Yeah. No.
Really?
No way. Health was not a thing for me at the time. So one night, like, I'm kind of like watching YouTube videos in my room, and I come across the same documentary that everybody came across that inspired them, right? I think it was like the Buds 234 class, right? Everybody talks about it. It's, what is it called? What is it? They have a whole series about it. Anyway, they go through and they show everybody going through Buds.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, yo, look at these guys, like, enduring this. They're enduring being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So that started getting my wheels spinning. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get out of my comfort zone. Like, what is something I don't do I want to do? So I was driving around one day and I located this boxing gym. And you'll see this whole story kind of goes full circle. So I located this boxing gym, and I walk in there, and it's like in a garage, and it's some guys from a foreign country that run it. They barely speak English. They're in amazing shape. And I was like, hey, I'm interested in boxing. Do you have any experience? I'm like, no, nothing. They're like, okay, well, before you can even train, they got to put you through a small little test. Started jumping rope. I think I stopped at like 41 seconds or something. And the guy's like, look, you can't train here until you can jump rope for at least 60 seconds, right? So I was like, all right, that's my goal. I'll make it a goal. It's a small goal. Started jumping rope, got in shape, joined that. Was like, all right, I'm starting to feel myself coming into who I am today. Started getting in good shape. I pushed drinking way to the back burner, right? I went down from almost every day to once a week to once every 2 weeks to once a month to almost nothing.
Wow.
Was like, all right, it's time for me to do something else. What's the hardest thing I thought I could do at the time? Not being exposed to too much. I was like, all right, what does the military offer me? So I started shopping around. I was like, what do I really want to do? And I didn't have too much exposure to, hey, the Navy has this, the Marines have this. You know, I didn't really know. Everybody knew what the SEALs were. I knew the Army had Special Forces, and I'd always heard about Air Force pararescue or parajumpers. And I was like, yo, they called it Superman school. I was like, let's go for it, right? Let's do it. I want to do this.
Let's do that.
So I went, talked to a recruiter. She was like, yeah, you have to take this like PST test just to get a contract to even go. I trained for it. I went to it. It wasn't the hardest thing in the world, obviously. Guys are smoking that nowadays. It's underwater swims, 500-meter swims, mile-and-a-half run. But at the time, you got to remember, I couldn't even jump rope for 30 seconds. So to me, that was, hey, I'm really making progress, and I'm starting to see my potential. Get down there to MEPS. I got my PST paperwork, and I'm like, I'm proud. You know what I mean? Like, hey, where are you? I'm going to the Air Force, and I'm going to be a PJ. I'm going to be a pararescue jumper. At least I thought so. So I go in there, everything goes good. I go to sign my final contract, and before, to solidify, hey, you're going out to boot camp, and the guy's like, hey, man, cool. So Thomas, look, you're colorblind, so you can either do like truck maintenance, this, and I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be a PJ.
It just kind of slipped that in.
Yeah.
Hey, you're colorblind, and
at first I'm like, well, what else? I was like, well, I knew they had combat controllers, right? I was like, well, I can't be a PJ.
Did you know you were colorblind?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Right. So
until somebody labeled you with something.
Yeah, they
like,
labeled me. I was like, I didn't know this was a thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I see colors. I see everything you see. What do you mean? Like, I know. Like, this is gray. The pants are blue.
That's weird.
Yeah, it was wild. So he's like, no. I was like, I'll be a combat controller. He's like, no, you can't do that, man. He's like, look, you can't do anything in this special operations field. He's like, it's a requirement at the time. I'm not sure if it is today. At the time, it was. And I remember thinking to myself, like, yo, my career, like my future's over. I was 18 years old. This is all I wanted to do. Everything I've been envisioning is like completely done. But if anything the Marines are good at is they're good at being nosy and like, and when they see somebody walking out of an office, they are good at getting you.
Yeah.
So if you go down to MEPS, you got everybody lined up. Everybody's in camis except for the Marines. They're in there.
Were you at Richmond or Petersburg? Remember the MEP station you were in? I've been at both. One with Isaiah at Petersburg and Richmond.
Petersburg.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not sure.
I went through Richmond, but
not sure.
It's not important. I just wonder where you did your process.
I went twice actually. So
you do everything hard, don't you?
I'm trying.
Stayed boot camp for 6 months.
Yeah, man. I'm like,
MEPS twice.
If there's an easy route, I'm like, I'm not going to take it. Right.
Yeah.
Like I like to set my goals to where, and like really quick, I like to set my goals. And I read this in a book I read recently, actually, it reaffirmed it. It was a comfort crisis. And it was like, if you're setting out a goal to do something and there's a 50% probability that you're going to fail or pass, then it's probably something hard enough for you to do. But if you set out and it's like, hey, it's a 90% chance I'm going to do it, the goal's probably not high enough, right? And you're probably not reaching out to that potential of what you could be doing. So immediately right then, I was like, that's how I'm going to start kind of living my life, as long as I'm financially stable and I'm not putting my family in jeopardy. When I see a goal like that, like I'm going to just send it. I'm going to give it 1,000%. And I'm willing to, to die failing, right? Knowing that I tried everything I could. I'm definitely not willing to live with regret, though. So
that's good.
The dudes, they popped out in their Charlies, and I'm looking at these like Marines with these like tailored outfits, and they pick who they're putting in there. These dudes are in great shape, they're groomed, they're lean, they're mean. Like, I'm like, these dudes, they got their stuff together.
Yeah.
But I never, in my wildest days, thought I'd be going to the Marines. But it definitely planted a seed. I go back, I'm talking to my mom one day, maybe like 2 months later. She's like, well, I don't know what you're gonna do. Maybe you either join the Marines or you're going back to college. And I'm like, okay, then. So I went down, joined the Marine Corps, and that's what I did. And then from there, it was kind of history, man. But I would say like joining the Marines was the best thing I ever did. It took me out of an environment that I was in where I wasn't growing, and it kind of molded me to show me like the potential of what you could do.
I want to hear the rest of your story, but I want to ask you just your opinion, because I vary back and forth. Like my opinions on this change often, right? So I haven't settled in on what I really believe. That's full disclosure.
Right.
Do you believe that, like Israel does with their young men and women now, doing a 2-year contract, making every citizen serve? We're still 100% volunteer force. And there's something about that that's desirable.
So, all right, here's what I'll say. I'll say yes or no, right? Yes, I wish everyone could experience it because I think it'd be great. However, one thing I love about being in serving with the people we do now is I love the fact that nobody forced them to do it. They're there on their own account.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, those are the mentalities I want to be with. You know what I mean? Because I think if we did force them, you're going to get a lot of people who are just taking up space. I need it to be nice about it. You know what I mean? I wish people could,
you want people who want to be there.
I want people that want to be there. It's the same thing like when you run a business, right? Like I want employees that want to be there.
Right.
Not people that are just collecting a paycheck. And I want you to actually believe in the why, right? And not just what we're doing. I want you to understand the purpose behind it and believe in it.
Yeah.
Or else, I mean, the mission, whether it's
people
running a
hurt.
business, it's not going to make it.
Yeah.
Plus, just this from being in the military too. Like it's the same thing with small business, military, police departments. Negativity is cancerous, and one bad seed, right, can corrupt a whole bunch that are on the line.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to do is bring negativity into those environments that already have stress. We have too much that needs to be accomplished for us to stop to listen to your negativity.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I feel. I do think everyone should spend some time in some type of service industry, though. Whether it's like I used to wait tables, right, bartend.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about having respect and learning, like think about when you go out to eat with someone, you can tell a lot about them, right? How do they treat the wait staff?
Yeah.
How do they talk to them, right? Like some people, they understand. They may talk down.
Yeah.
But like these servers and waiters are working their asses off. You know,
they are bringing you your food.
They
too.
are.
So
you need to take care of them.
Yeah. You say the wrong thing to a waste, and that shouldn't be your motive for not saying something crass.
But you definitely got to.
But
yeah.
You
definitely need to be careful, man. You got to take care of them. I think it just tells a lot about people's character, about how they treat wait staff in general.
Yeah.
Employees from every business, whether it's the receptionist, whatever. I think it says a lot about the character.
Yeah.
And I think unless you work in that business, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's genuinely good people that never did it that are very nice to everyone, but working in that business really opens your eyes to it.
Yeah. And salute to our servers out there, man, and especially those who have stuck it out through a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether it's manufactured or real, that still the real reality was a lot of people were hurt.
They were hurting
in the service industry.
And think absolutely. Think about the kind of character it took. People ended up losing jobs, and they had to shift over and be like, all right, last week I was running a 6-figure, company, and now, hey, I'm about to wait on you on the tables.
Yeah.
That says a lot about who they are, right?
Yeah.
They're resilient.
Yeah.
And you never know what they're going through. So that's my biggest thing. I guess to sum it up, answer your question, I think everybody should spend time in some type of service industry. Whether you went to the military, you need to serve the public somehow.
Peace Corps, Salvation Army, or Special Forces.
Something, yes. Yeah. Serve in some capacity at one time or another.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, though.
No, I think that's a good answer. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So to take you back now to you enlisted in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
we talked about
went to the Marines. At that time, I just
what
wanted
was your
to be,
MOS?
I was artillery man. I was a fire direction controlman, so I just coordinated artillery fire. Ended up becoming an operations chief for the battery, which was a cool job. It was nothing I ever dreamed of. Right, I wasn't too exposed to too much military jobs. they said, hey, we have artillery. And I was like, that sounds cool. To be completely honest, when I was that young, I didn't know the difference between infantry and artillery.
Yeah.
I would get them confused.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up around that. I wasn't familiar with it, but it just sounded good. Spent the time in artillery, and it was great because I got to learn, big aspects of war and military and stuff like that, how it unfolds. Spent a lot of time in a conventional unit, which shows you really good leadership and it shows you really bad leadership. Mm-hmm. So from there, you can kind of pick what route do you want to start molding yourself. But I just had an itch to do more, right? I was like, this is great. I've loved it. It's kind of opened my eyes. I want to do more. So I remember thinking, all right, I'm in the Marines. Maybe I'll look at screening for MARSOC, right? Okay, how do I go MARSOC, Marine Corps Special Operations Command?
Yeah.
How do I go to a recon platoon?
Yeah.
And I remember I kept getting roadblocked. They're like, you're colorblind, you're red, green, colorblind, you're colorblind. Like, it's a disqualifier. And I'm like, yo, is this out here for me? Can't be, right? I started calling every special operations, something in those communities to see what was going to let my foot in the door the first. I just wanted a chance to try. That's all I wanted.
Right.
And for me, it became more about proving to myself that, I can take on something like this. I can get through it. I can overcome it. And I just wanted to grow and see who I was going to be on the other side of it. That's all I wanted. I never cared once about a beret, a trident, a title. I did not care. I just wanted to be uncomfortable and just see how can I grow and what can I become. Because in 7th grade, I asked my teacher to write me, not 7th grade, in 11th grade, I asked my science teacher to write me a job, reference letter, right?
Yep.
And I was going to go turn it in. My mom was like, you might want to read that letter before you turn it in. And she was brutally honest. She was like, he's lazy. He's probably not, he's not going to become this. But I was talking to everybody. I was never doing homework. I just wanted to laugh, talk. I wanted to date her, and then, I'm being honest, that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
But that letter, stuck in my head. After I read it, for years, I started noticing, okay, I can't accomplish, I can't do this, I can't do that. And now, fast forward to today, and it's just one after another I'm trying to tackle. I don't know where it's going to lead to, but I'm trying.
That was rude of that teacher to do that. But
it was, but I'm thankful she did.
Bad things happen in life to good people.
At the time, it really hurt my feelings.
Yeah. You needed some tough
but
love.
It was definitely my mom is awesome. She's great, but she, she's a mom, right? Oh, Blake, you're the smartest. You can do this. I'm like, mom, I love you to death. But let's be real. There's a lot of things I don't know. And I appreciate you being my number one coach and my number one supporter.
Yeah.
But I needed somebody like that to tell me the hard truth. And till this day, I still kind of think about it.
Have you talked to her? Have you talked to that teacher?
I haven't, but I still had that letter. And I'll get to it in a second. But actually, I'll come right back to that portion. So I went in the Marines, had this itch. I was like, man, I don't know if there's any opportunities. I called everything, right? I was like, all right, about Coast Guard rescue swimmers. Can I do this?
Yeah.
Can I do something? Nothing. They were like, it's just closed doors, man.
Jeez.
I had always kind of thought about being a police officer as well. So I ended up applying to a variety of police departments. While I was in the process with one, I tell you, I'm always putting a lot on my plate. I was like, while I'm waiting for this to unfold, I'm going to get my real estate license. So I went to Alpha College of Real Estate here, ended up getting my real estate license back in 2013. It was a cool experience. It was great, but I still had that itch. I was like, I got to do something else. So then I reapplied for police departments, got picked up, I'm in the department for about maybe a year, and somebody's like, hey, are you going to SOT school, special operations school, training? I'm like, maybe, I don't even know what that is. They're like, yeah. Well, they have a full-time SWAT team here. And I was like, that's cool. Sure. I think I'll go. I didn't really understand the magnitude of what it would be because I never really was exposed to them much. But I ended up going through the school, made it through the first time. It's not a horrible process. It's definitely not something. It's not very long. School's only a couple weeks long. There's a lot of running. The shooting is fast. Shooting is tough, but it's definitely doable. But there's only so much they can screen for in a couple week period. You know what I mean? They got to make sure you're physically fit. You got to make sure you get along with people. Are your shooting fundamentals decent? Do they have a platform to work on? Timing worked out. I got very lucky. Right underneath 2 years, I got taken to the SWAT team and got a ton of experiences with them ever since. Really solid dudes. And they've taken really good care of me like a family,
That's awesome.
Every day was definitely different and exciting. Enjoyed it. I love it. It's a huge chapter of my life. But for some reason, I was like, I still got this itch from back in the day. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I started calling around, and of course, eventually made my way around to the Army, which coming from the Marine Corps, the Army was going to be the last person I called.
Army,
but
ain't ready to be a Marine yet.
It's only because I just didn't know. I didn't know. Come to find out, I was very naive.
Yeah.
I started meeting these boys in the Army, and I'm like, oh, wait, you guys are like this? They were like, yeah, man, that's all just a stigma people talk about. Like, they got some badass dudes over here. You know what I mean? I'm like, the training's good, the funding's good. First of all, the funding is totally different. I remember looking, I'm like, y'all get chow? Y'all getting paid? This is nice. And I was like,
So
what
fun.
can I do?
The Marines do so much with so little, though.
They do, and that's what makes them, in my opinion, like,
makes them hard.
yeah. It's like, you have so little. It's just,
But anyways.
No. So
I'm going to keep bragging on the Marines when you're talking about the Army. So
no,
just,
trust me. The Marines have a special place in my heart. And like, if you look in my garage, I have the Marine Corps flag hanging up, and it's the only flag I have hanging. I absolutely, it's just special to me.
Well, I have to support all the branches because my entire family has served in some branch.
Yeah,
of the
mine too,
military.
actually. But
Except Space Force.
Not yet.
There's
still time.
My son Noah might be he's like a rocket scientist, so who knows? But yeah, the Marine Corps flag, you've been in my it's at the top. Everybody else is there supported, but Marines got the special placement.
They do. They have a special place in my heart.
Right above my weight machine I never touch.
Yeah. So right above my squat rack actually in the house. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, definitely special.
So yeah,
I still had this itch, so I started shopping around, and I found out that there's an organization right within the Army that it doesn't require you to be, or they weren't sure. So I made a lot of phone calls, right? And they denied me the first couple of times. You're colorblind. And I started telling them, I don't think I am. I found a way to where I went to a doctor on the civilian side, screened with them, and they were like, bro, you're maybe a little bit, but you're not bad. Like, you actually passed the color vision test with us. They wrote me a letter, which allowed me to go back to MEPS. So I went back to MEPS, and I remember thinking, like, okay, this is the color vision test. How am I going to pass this? I've read everything, so people memorize it. Well, that ain't going to work, because I get there, and the test they gave me was not the one I thought it was.
Oh, shit.
But somehow, that day, through the grace of God, I have no idea if it was the lighting, if it was the shade, or what happened. The machine was down, so I had to take it on a flip book, right? The flip book, the ink was printed different. Brother, I could read every number in this book, and I was like, you are real.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I was like, you are real, man. I read it. They were like, hey, you're good. Bam. Next thing I know, they were like, hey, you're good. Your physical's good. And when you're ready to go to selection, like, you're going. And then from there, it's just been kind of, I'm obviously still going through the processes.
Yeah.
And plan on spending the rest of my time with them, that unit.
That's awesome.
I've been blessed. But once that was rolling, and like you said, now we go to the next step, and started taking all these things. And after meeting with you and talking to you, you were like right when trying to start my own business was like in its infancy.
Yeah.
And
tell us about that. Your ball cap, by the way, that's your logo for your company.
I always had this desire to I was very, very, very hungry and always looking at entrepreneurship, and I knew I wanted to run a business, but a lot of times I would think, well, people run a business just to run a business. I want to run something I genuinely care about, have a passion for, and that I think could make an impact or make a difference. And with a market very flooded in the private security industry, I wanted to find something different, at least I thought was different. And I was like, well, I've got a good background now from all these years. I've met a ton of people in all the communities. I was like, we've got the resources to do this. So I started a company called Integrated Travel Protection, which I think when people heard it first, they're like, okay, is that travel insurance? But what it is it's a private security business that integrates with the family or the company and travels with them wherever they're going in the world to provide protection. So whether you're going to a resort in Mexico, right, and you're either a high-profile business owner, celebrity, or just someone who feels like they need extra protection, we're there to fill that void. But then we're also there to, if you work for the state level and you're going out to Colombia, we're able to put together a team for you as well and facilitate that out. Very early on, networking with everybody I've kind of been with, once I kind of went on LinkedIn, which if you're not on LinkedIn, by the way, you need to get on LinkedIn. That's where you grow a business for sure. You meet some fantastic people up there that just kind of help you. Someone called me and was like, hey, man, actually, it was a guy I was in police academy with. His name's Jeff. Awesome dude. He's no longer working with us. He's moved on to some bigger and better things. His name's actually Kevin Jeff. Fantastic guy. If you guys know him, hire him. He'll take care of you. He was like, hey, integrated travel protection, what does that mean? And I told him, hey, we're integrated. So, I thought it meant you're integrated with like a travel agency. And I'm like, Kevin, that's a really good idea. And he's like, I got the person for you. Next thing I know, we're merged up with a well-known travel agent, right? Actually, right here out of the area. Her name's Naveen Jeff.
Okay.
She runs the travel concierge. She tailors to high-end clients, but she'll work with anybody, take care of anybody. That's just word of mouth. She's very, I guess, sewn in to more higher intel clients and stuff. Next thing, she links us with a jet company, Blue Sky Jets. They got over 4,000 jets in the fleet. We meet with him. He's like, yeah, I think we could make you guys our primary security vendor for our private jet fleet as far as if our customers need you. Then from there, we quickly grew into opening an executive protection division, a maritime protection division, and then the newest one we're working on is travel, faith-based travel. So nice. I think I told you we talked to some of the guys here from the local churches and organizations, and these guys are doing a ton of travel all over the world. And sometimes if you look at the top places they're going, I mean, I'm not saying the church here is going, but places in the country, churches, they're going to visit places such as Congo. And we're able to provide them a peace of mind and some comfort, knowing like, hey, you can go there, carry out your mission.
You're a massive target.
And we'll kind of be there to take care of you. We've got some big ideas we want to launch, and I don't want to keep, take up your time getting into it. But
I love it.
We're working with North Carolina right now for a really, really big project, right? We're trying to tackle a bunch of the maritime ports down there as well. That's our consulting division that's growing. And then we also have another division opening up over in Dubai. And that's the one that's kind of like, it's definitely in its infancy, and we're trying to find the right niche and how to do it. But our travel agent's from Dubai, so is their family, so they have very deep roots. We want to start marketing over there, which we are doing soon. And our goal is to capture clients from Dubai that want to come to America. And we will facilitate their flights, their travel, their hotel, their lodging, pick them up once they land, escort them around, show them the areas, provide security to them. But more importantly, I'm going to give them somebody who knows the area, right? So like if you come to Virginia Beach, like I know it pretty well. I know the spots you need to be in. I know where to go, where not to go. I know where to go if you want to have great dinners, where to go if you want a good nightlife. So we're going to kind of have ambassadors or liaisons in those areas. So if you go to New York, we're going to show you the New York experience. And we want to make it like a one-stop shop.
Nice.
Like you book with us, we're taking care of everything. I'll get you here. I'll protect you here. I'll make sure you and your money go back. And I'll make sure you have a hell of a time while you're here. So that's the next thing we're kind of looking at branching into.
That's cool. You know what's interesting, just listening to you and seeing your passion behind it. I have shared with folks for years something that was shared with me probably 25 years ago is this mindset of belief. Mm-hmm. How do you believe? Because your belief system will drive the behavior.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
And if you ever have a behavior issue, first place to start is, well, what do you believe?
Right.
Because that belief that you have internally, we were talking about the inside voice and the outside voice. If you don't have a good set of people and mentors, coaches, and these don't have to be people that are on your paid staff, but people that can help you develop your belief systems.
Yep.
And if you've got a good set of belief systems, that's going to drive the behavior. Now, behavior is an interesting thing in that equals choice. And we don't always make the best choices. But if I make a bad choice, I can go, was my belief system right?
Right.
But was my action on that belief appropriate? So beliefs drive behaviors.
Yep.
Behaviors drive relationships. So,
100%.
like you and I had a belief system of that there would be a good commonality between you and I having a conversation. You believed it, I believed it.
Yep.
It translated into a behavior, us showing up and starting to have coffee together. That developed a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
From that relationship, we have the result of what we're doing today, and who knows what that manifests into. So beliefs drive behavior. Behavior drives relationships.
Yes.
Relationships drive results.
Oh, absolutely.
And the unfortunate thing for most people, business and in our personal lives, is when we get a bad result, we go, oh, crap, we must have picked the wrong thing.
Right.
No, all we have to do is go backtrack. Was it in the relationship or was it in the behavior? If you've got good, solid core beliefs and you're acting on that, you're going to have success.
I fully agree.
The universe is conspiring for you, not against you. God is conspiring for you, not against you. And if you can start there with, hey, that God is well-meaning for me in anything that I choose that's wholesome, that's not hurting other people, that's providing a value or service or benefit to someone else.
Yeah.
Good things come from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the only thing we have to do, this goes back to your training mentality that I see in you. Activity is what breeds success. So the fitness that you've attained, back to that party boy at UVA.
Yeah.
Or the
community college next to UVA campus.
Well, you might as well say
in.
UVA.
Yeah, hey, I mean,
but whatever
I felt like I went there, I partied there a lot.
You set in your mind a belief that, hey, I think I can accomplish X.
Yeah.
And you started acting on, and it was a small goal, 60 seconds on a jump rope.
That was it.
But if you look at that 60 seconds in a jump rope, you deciding, going, okay, this guy has challenged me. I believe I can do it. Mm-hmm. And you started setting your mind to that activity.
Absolutely.
That was the belief. The belief transition. The behavior was, crap, I got to pick up this piece of rope and actually start doing it. And then when you did that, the relationship with the coach, the boxing coach, said, okay, you can be part of the club now.
Yeah.
And we're going to help you get to the results that you want. But I would say that jump rope activity set in place exactly where you are today.
That 60 seconds was a catalyst to end up, I believe, where I'm sitting today. And like we always say, like I say appreciate and be thankful for your accomplishments, but I don't rest on them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're great. I'm very proud of them. But now I want to see what else we can keep doing. I'm thankful and I'm grateful. I'll put it that way. But I'm still hungry.
Yeah.
And I like to be around people that are like that.
Yeah.
I think that's why you and I kicked it off. You know, you have a very hungry mindset. And I think that you made a really good point.
I'm working on that in my physical activities. It's, I've got this mindset, but my behavior, and I know where it happens. I have the belief that, hey, I need to be in better physical condition again. And over the years of all that happening on the wall behind you, I allowed those activities, and I have no regret, by the way. I have no regret that activity on the wall with that tribe that was built. I sacrificed some of my fitness and my training to, be there with those guys. And that's awesome. It's been fun.
Well,
but, when they wanted to eat Chunky Monkey, I ate Chunky Monkey.
The way I look at it is, like, so you had the same focus. You just had to pivot that energy and focus, right?
Yeah.
To another goal. And the goal was building your beautiful family.
Yeah.
Which you did. Yeah. And you're still doing.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to see you Saturday for our 8-mile ruck. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get out there and get after it.
Is it 8 miles you're doing on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm trying to ruck every weekend. I really big into rucking.
Yeah. I did that in the Marine Corps, man. I tell you what, I'd put a pack on my back and go all day. When you asked me to run, something meant, and I run with a football, run with a basketball, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
but
see,
I had to push myself to do 6-minute miles and get a perfect I wanted a perfect PFT score.
Yeah.
Do you call them PFTs?
They call them PFTs, yeah.
Yeah, in the Marines.
Which I think is 3 miles and 18 minutes
18
or less.
minutes, so 6-minute miles.
Yeah.
And the best I ever did was a 5:57 mile. And it was like, man, that's what I kept hitting.
Brother, that's moving. Is that consecutively?
Yeah, so for 3 miles.
That's moving,
5:57, and it got me under 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Which gave me 100 points.
Yep.
And then I knew I didn't have a
20
problem
Pullups
with
is
20.
nothing.
I was like, dead hangs.
I think now it's 22.
Is it really?
Yeah, but
yeah. I'm good for 3 these days at 245 and probably carrying 40 pounds of blubber.
Hey man,
it's like a chain around my waist, with a 45-pound plate on it.
Damn man,
but
245.
How many pull-ups can you do now? When you're
before
your
I tore
arm
my
injury?
bicep, I think I was doing like strict, maybe around like 26 maybe.
That's crazy, man.
I was about 215, 220. Yeah.
What do you weigh now?
I'm still around 215. Tearing my bicep, having the surgery last month, I lost I'd say a good amount of like mass up top.
Yeah.
I tried to work out half my body the best I could, kept my nutrition dialed in, a lot of leg workouts. I was in a cast, so I couldn't run, but I was still rucking a lot.
You were like.
Yeah, exactly. The rucking I felt like was engaging the entire body, just carrying that load of weight for that distance.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What do you think rucking does for you mentally?
So rucking, I try to explain this to a lot of people too. Now, running can do it as well, and I found that love with running. That's why I ran the Richmond Marathon a couple years ago. I never ran over 13 miles, and I was like, I'm gonna go for it. And a buddy of mine, we did it together. I was crippled for like 7 months afterwards, but it was worth it. I think rucking mentally, and there's a great book out there that I want people to read. It's called The Comfort Crisis.
It's funny you say that. You know, you watch my podcast. You know, I like to ask you what you're reading because we want to share it with folks.
Dude, The Comfort Crisis is phenomenal. I'm on a kick now where if I meet somebody and we have a good conversation, I'll Amazon that book to their house for them. Like, you got to read it because I believe that this book is something that could change your life. And it just goes into deep detail about how staying out of your comfort zones is so healthy for the brain, right? And I won't ruin the book, but if you get a chance, check it out. Comfort Crisis, fantastic. But they talk about rucking in there, right? And rucking is a mental game for sure.
Okay.
You're going to hit walls and barriers, you know what I mean? And it's a long endurance event. I mean, so like a passing time for a 12-mile hump or a 12-mile ruck, right? The standard of the military is 3 hours or less.
Right.
I want to say it's like 55 pounds dry, 45 pounds dry, plus water. When you start going to selections and other schools, especially like I've seen with in the basic reconnaissance course, SFAS, I mean, your entry weight is probably close to 70, 75 pounds, and you're still having to maintain that, and the terrain's not flat. So I'd say mentally, you're going to be out there for hours. It's different. Like, your brain for a while, obviously, is like, yo, this has got to end. Yeah. The traps start hurting, everything starts hurting. Over time, your body calluses.
Right.
But I think that at the same time you're callousing your body, you're also starting to callous your mind. So then you'll definitely realize that, like, you did this, and now next time something you did not as hard. I'm not talking physically. We all know the body makes adaptations physically. I'm talking mentally.
Right.
And then once you take those aspects and you put them towards your personal life, you've kind of been there before. Does that make sense? Like, you've been uncomfortable. You've been in places you've gotten through.
Right.
So you're almost in familiar territory. And I just feel like that's the biggest thing I've taken from that.
It's funny. I just talked with a mutual friend of ours the other day, Brock.
Yeah.
And he had some back work done. And this is a warrior, right?
Of course.
He was a retired Navy SEAL. And he was sharing with me he had to get in this hyperbaric chamber. And it was a little different than ones he'd been in the past. It was a tube. And he said it was clear.
Right.
But he said the thing that I had to mentally get through, and this dude's done some crazy, batshit crazy stuff.
Yeah, that dude's been in the game a long time.
But he said, Kenny, I don't like anybody closing me into any little area. And he goes, I got pushed in a tube.
I don't like that either, man.
And they closed that thing up airtight, right? And he said, they got nice TV screen. You know, I can read a book while I'm in there.
Yeah.
He said, the demon that I had to keep fighting was my mental awareness of being somewhere I didn't want to be, locked up.
Yeah.
He said, every time I gave power to being locked up, he goes, I'd start, my heart rate would go up a little bit.
You start sweating.
Little
you start
panic.
Almost panicking. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said it was there. And he would just have to go, hey, Ron, look.
I'm okay. I'm
You're
good.
okay.
I'm breathing.
These people are here to help you.
Yeah.
The universe is conspiring for you, not against you.
Yeah. It's just learning how to control that.
Yeah. And being good with being miserable, right? A state of misery.
Obviously, I didn't coin this term. We've heard it, being comfortable, being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'll tell myself that the easiest way to define that is obviously physical exercise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, mentally you can definitely do it, but if you today were like, hey, I want to go find a place uncomfortable, the easiest, fastest way we can do it is for me to probably put you in a workout or a treadmill or something at a pace that's very uncomfortable, and then let you know, like, this is your zone, right?
Yeah.
The longer you're here, the more you're callous in your brain, and you're adding to that mental armor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I have it on my phone actually real quick. I remember right when I finished running that marathon, I wanted to, and I mean it wasn't anything crazy. It was a regular marathon. I would love to get now into pushing that distance just to see what we're capable of doing. But I
Like
remember
an ultra marathon?
Yeah, something.
Can you do 100 miles?
And we're getting
Yeah,
these
right.
guys out here these days are banging these out left and right. It's
It's
impressive.
crazy.
When I watch them run that, yeah, I'm definitely impressed that their bodies can run 100 miles, right? That's amazing. I'm more impressed of what's going on up here during that 100 miles. And I'm like, for some reason, I really just want to know what you're feeling.
Yeah.
I want to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah. What's going through your mind as you're doing this? The sheer amount of boredom of doing that for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I guess I need, my motor sensors challenged, but that's one of the things, like with just going on a run. And maybe that's what I need to be doing because that's uncomfortable for me to do.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Every morning I want to
Yeah.
get uncomfortable. And then the rest of the day I know I'm good. So I'm going to share this with you real quick. I've only shared this with one person. This is something right after that marathon.
You're
right?
sharing this with a lot of people today.
Well, we'll share it
All
with
right.
everybody. All right.
Here we go.
It's no worries. Right after that, I remember I was sitting on the couch and I was like, "Hey, man, let's reflect back to why you really ran it." Right. Everybody has their goals while they run these things, and it's probably similar to a lot of people's. But for me, this is what I wrote. I said, running a marathon or running an ultra has never been, nor will it ever be about running. For me, it's the physical barrier that has to be broken to reach the mental armor. This type of armor requires the most uncomfortable of times in order to grow. Mental armor is perishable. Every day you're not challenged, it deteriorates. The minute you stop making deposits on its behalf, you have lost your edge. The 26-mile journey takes you to a place that nothing else can replicate. It's you versus you. And the person that comes across the finish line is not the same one that started this journey months ago. Life is short. The sooner you go from why to why not, you will truly start living. And I remember that was the most authentic reason,
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I remember I was like, I got to write this down. This is how I feel.
You penned that, or was that someone else?
No, I wrote that 100%. I
Wow.
wrote every bit of that, trying to explain why I did it. And
That's great.
I think we're kind of talking, and I know we're really going down that rabbit hole, but it's doing those things that allow you to grow, right?
Yeah.
Once you do it one step further than you did yesterday, you're a different person. And it's a compounding effect. Every little bit each day is going to grow you
So
in a
for
direction.
a person, and we got to close it out, but
Yeah.
for a person who's not, an exercise stud, or physical fitness is not their thing. Now, I'm not talking about a couch potato.
No,
I'm
no,
talking
I
about
get
somebody who understands, hey, I should probably walk 3 times a week and get, not be sedentary. But if fitness is not their thing, what are some suggestions you have for folks who could exercise being uncomfortable? What else? If fitness could get you there, working out could get you there faster, but any other thoughts on?
I'd say it's easy. First off, yes, it's all relative. So if we're talking about fitness, which we're not, then that 60 seconds 13, 14 years ago was equivalent to that 26 miles 14 years later. It's all relative.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but what I would say is the same thing applies to people that maybe physical fitness is not the way they find it. Well, what is something you're not good at? What is something a goal you want to accomplish? Get out of that comfort zone by saying, you know what, I'm going to start reading a book a month, right? I'm going to grow my brain a month.
Yeah.
I'm going to put down Netflix, I'm going to put down social media, and getting out of my comfort zone is maybe I am going to go take that real estate exam. I am going to go get my law degree. You know what? I can be a doctor. I'm out of my comfort zone. I'm scared to go to school. Well, guess what? Dude, the same way we do it, or I felt like I did it, is I would just kind of send it off and just hope that I figure it out later. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'll figure it out along the way. Same thing.
Yeah.
Go down today, enroll in school, get those classes started. Trust me, you'll figure it out along the way. Don't overwhelm yourself by looking at the end.
That's awesome.
So,
Don't overwhelm yourself by looking at the end.
yep.
That's good. So, the book again,
Comfort Crisis.
any other books you would say are good, or start there? Is that like your number one go-to?
I'd say for what we're talking about today, I'd say start there.
Who wrote it? Do you know the author?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put it out to you right now. That way we can,
Michael Easter?
yeah, that sounds
There
familiar.
you go, Michael Easter.
Yes.
And you can pick it up on Amazon. We'll put it on the webpage and on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's it. Drop it below. Yeah, next week we'll talk about some more, and then we'll kind of see what everybody wants to listen to, and we'll dive deep into some details. I mean, we'll talk about everything from human sports performance all the way to running a business, what it really takes from the inside to.
Well, dude, thanks for sharing your story and your early story. I know there's more to it. And there's some things we can't talk about because of your profession and what you do, but that stuff is like, that interests me, but I think more about your mindset, your belief systems. That's what we can help people with and help challenge other people to just be a better version of themselves and whatever it is they want to do in life.
I agree.
How do we help you do that? And in KP's Black Box, we keep it open for everything, that can relate to life. And two things that relate to life, I think, that are super important is oxygen. Live a day without oxygen. Let me know how it works out for you. Or currency, money. If you don't have those two things in your life, and if you think about, I'll end it with this. If you think about what's going on in the Ukraine right now,
right? They're
trying to starve and deprive people of the basic necessities of life to get them to capitulate. So to your point, if you're doing things that make you uncomfortable, when you're faced with things like that in life, you're better prepared to withstand anything the enemy's throwing at you.
Absolutely.
To the point of, are you willing to give your life for it?
Absolutely.
That's pretty deep to end on today, but we'll pick up with those type conversations here in the near future.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, thanks so much for coming in, and thanks for giving me some inspiration to kick this back off again. I appreciate you.
I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate
you.